This is Missy Hyatt, and you're listening to the Interactive Interview.
You're listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio, featuring the Interactive Interview, courtesy of WrestlingEpicenter.com.
Welcome back to the Blaze 1260 AM, as we are now being joined by a WWE Hall of Famer, Greg the Hammer Valentine. Greg, how you doing?
I'm doing good, buddy.
It's good to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Alrighty, let's get right into the questions. The first one I have for you is, it has recently been reported that you have challenged Hulk Hogan. Do you want to comment on this right now?
I tried to ignore the rumors, but a month ago I heard a rumor that WWE wanted this match. They wanted Greg Valentine against Hulk Hogan, and then I heard it. Hogan turned it down on the. I think the reason he turned it down is I was too small, and he either wanted a bigger name or I don't think that was it, but I was too small, and he wanted someone younger. That was it. And he turned it down. But WWE wanted the match, and several times he turned it down. So, but this is not. I don't know if this etched in stone. This is a rumor. 2 weeks later, I get another. I get bombarded with this all over New York City when I went up there to appear at Captain Lou Albano's DVD premiere up there in the city. It was all over the place. And so I said, well, yeah, I did hear about it, but you know what, if it's true, I think it is true, a rumor to fly like this. WWE wanted the classic wrestling match. Greg the Hammer Valentine gets Hulk Hogan. He turned it down. He going to be there anyway. He's going to induct Mean Gene Okerlund in the Hall of Fame. He could have came out and wrestled me. I think he ruined my chances, let alone his chances, to be in that great big WrestleMania 22. But the bottom line is, he don't want to wrestle me because I'm not one of his friends, and he's a coward. He's afraid of me. He's afraid I'll take him out. Now, I'm challenging him. I want to know why he turned it down. I want to know exactly, rather than the rumor. But I don't think it's just a rumor. I think it's the real thing. I think the WWE, because I have good relations with them. I just talked to the WWE.com people. They're always asking me questions about this and that, the other thing. So I have a good relationship. I went in there and worked a show with them, and they said they wanted me back to come back and wrestle. But they also was interested in my part about being able to tell the young kids what to do in the ring and maybe like an agent thing. But I never really heard back from them. So I believe this rumor's for true because they still want me to wrestle some. And this classic wrestling match would have been great. 25 years later, who's in the greatest shape? I know he's in great shape. So what's wrong, Hogan? I'm the better wrestler. Everybody knows that. He's the showman, He's Mr. Showman. No doubt that he is very strong. When I wrestled in the Madison Square Garden, I kicked his head in a couple times. I was always a stiff wrestler, and I always laid him in, and he didn't like that. He picked me up and threw me clean across the ring. I remember that, so I know how strong he is. Those muscles aren't just pumped up with air. So, I know he's a dangerous man. I'm calling him on. Hey, I'm 50-some years old, and so is he.
Yeah.
I think, he put me down by saying that I was too small, number one. Number two, that I was too old. Because I'm in better shape. I'm the better old man than he is as far as a wrestler. And I've got more guts than he does, too. So maybe following his daughter around and hanging out with his wife and his daughter, he doesn't want to get in the ring anymore because he wants to hang behind a woman's skirt, that's fine.
Wow. So how do you answer... Yeah. How do you answer some of the critics that when they heard this news that you were calling out Hogan, that say that you're just doing this to get some attention around yourself?
Sure, why not? I didn't start the rumor. You know what? I don't really. If I hear something like that, you could tell them this for that. This is the reason why I'm doing it, because when I first heard it, even if it was true, I didn't care about it. But when I had all the people in New York jamming me about it and saying, hey, they'd like to see the match, and he did you a raw deal. It got me going, got my blood pumping, and so now it's not just, maybe nothing will ever come of it, but I'm just letting you know how I feel about it, that I felt that, I could have had a great payday at WrestleMania 22, number one, because he don't need the money. I certainly do, and I'm not going to be bashful about saying it, but, I can live without it too, but this would have been the ultimate. And being that, I always thought he was my friend, but now I know he isn't because he turned that down. We could have had a beautiful match. It's just, if I'm trying to call attention to myself, I already got enough attention. I'm in the Hall of Fame. I'm all over the DVDs and stuff, and WWE has actually helped revitalize my career. So it's not a prank. It's just, it's calling. I don't even want, there's no offense to the WWE. I think Hogan really did this, maybe just to hurt me. I don't know. I don't want to wrestle him. It would have been, hey, I could have, this would have been a great payday for both of us. But, and I'm certainly a professional. I'm not gonna hurt him.
I wouldn't imagine that you would.
I mean, I could break his leg and rip that fake hip of his out. I'm not even sure that's true. I heard he had some surgery, so maybe he doesn't want to wrestle,
Has WWE contacted you about making an appearance at WrestleMania 22?
No, they just talked to me about WWE.com. They did talk to me back in January about it, but now they haven't said anything. So maybe since Hogan turned them down for that match, that's what they wanted. They get their head set on one thing, So no, they haven't talked to me about that.
Yeah, I actually remember the first time I ever saw you wrestle was against Hogan. I believe it was a match in the Philadelphia Spectrum.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was one of my favorites as a kid. Do you think if you did wrestle Hogan, do you think you could put on a match as good as that?
Yes, definitely. Definitely. I know what match you're talking about, too, from the Spectrum there. I've got it on video. A guy sent it to me, and it was back right in both of our heydays, He was brand new world champion. I was the Intercontinental champion. We were riding that wave high, and I think as far as I go, I could do that match again. Maybe he couldn't. I know I could. I can do it.
I actually saw you about 3 years back at a Christian league out here in, I think it was called Eloy, Arizona. And you look pretty much the same, and I've seen you on some tapes that people have sent me from companies around the North Carolina area. And you look pretty much the same in there, so I'm surprised that they don't take advantage of it and have you go in there and, as you said, maybe show the young guys how to do it.
Well, you know what? And I look better now because I took off about 15 pounds, and I always have trouble keeping my belly from coming on because I like to drink beer. But, I mean, what wrestler from the 1980s didn't drink beer? Come on. I mean, after that they started popping pills and stuff, but beer's still safe.
Right.
I just have to lay off of it, and I'm dropping weight right now in case, who knows, WWE might call me out of the shoot. I want to be ready. I want to be ready because they got shows all the time. I'm challenging him not just to a WrestleMania, but a WWE Monday Night Raw. I don't care. A SmackDown. It don't matter. I want him to do it, and I don't think he'll ever do it, and I think it's main reason because he's a coward. He thinks I'm going to hurt him.
Have you ever talked to him about it?
No, I haven't. He doesn't call me, and I don't call him, but we used to socialize. I know he socializes with my brother-in-law.
Yeah, that's what your agent was telling me, that you guys are like almost family.
Yeah, we are. But, I personally don't have anything against Hogan, and I wouldn't even have brought this up if the rumor hadn't started flying. But I'm out there every night still grinding, not every night, every weekend. Still grinding the road, still having wrestling matches with these young kids, and I'm enjoying myself. So, I'm just challenging. I'm telling Roddy Piper, too, I know I can take him down about 3 minutes. So, but Piper's a friend of mine, and he's not into wrestling anymore. And
not really.
We're on Piper's Pits together, but that's Hogan. And another person that everybody would love us to wrestle is Ric Flair. But I'd rather have Ric Flair be my partner and wrestle some tag team up there. Because that's how we were best, not wrestling each other, but as partners.
Right.
Flair and Valentine. I'd love to do that. It seems like they keep bringing the legends back, so.
Yeah, they do keep bringing you guys back and having you have a quick run up there. Hacksaw just came back recently for a couple matches.
I think he's going back again. I think he's going back again. And Animal, is he still around up there?
Yeah, they just changed his gimmick again.
Yeah.
But he's still the Road Warrior now.
Okay.
Which?
Well, that new Hawk couldn't keep up with the old Hawk, I guess.
No, he actually told them he couldn't do it anymore, and they just released him.
Well, God bless the old Hawk, you know.
Yeah.
And
he had tough shoes to fill.
Tough shoes. No one will ever be the man that Hawk was. I really fell in love with the guy as a brother. We went out to Phoenix, became Christians together and everything, and then, the guy had his issues, and he fought him and battled him, and he really came back and was doing great. It was just a shock when he was found dead,
Yeah.
Shock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We still talk about him all the time down here. Lived 10 minutes from me. All here, all the time. So it was real hard for me to take. And just being a Christian and stuff and watching what he went through is like, wow, God, what a slap in the face, But I'm not blaming nobody. I guess it's just the abuse that he did to his body before that time, But
yeah.
I'm getting on a rant there. Sorry about that.
It's perfectly all right. Well, you did make an appearance on WWE TV Sunday Night Heat in a match against Rob Conway. What was it like being on TV again?
Oh, very exciting. I was kind of nervous about it, But now that once I got out there, I felt like I'd never left, That's the way it is. It's like riding a bike. Once you get, I can't ride that bike anymore, and you get on 10 years later and you can ride it. So that's what it was like, But it was a real good feeling. In fact, when I went back home, then I paced around my pool and around my yard, and I just paced. I just, I had that taste, the taste of the big time again. So that's what it is. I had a taste of the big time. I'm ready. I want to taste it again.
Yeah, you kind of wanted it back again, huh?
The Hall of Fame was a taste of the big time, too. I really enjoyed that. But I told Vince I wanted to wrestle that time, it's still in me,
Well, being back there, you had to have taken a look at the current wrestling product. What do you think of the current direction of the WWE?
Well, I don't know what to say. It looks, I want to say one thing. Characters draw money and sell tickets.
Right.
And they got a lot of guys in there just muscle bound, and they all kind of look alike to me, except for your big shows and your Kurt Angles, other guys like that, It's really, I think we had a better crop of guys back in my day because it wasn't all emphasis on looking like Mr. Universe, because when you're all muscle bound like that, you can't wrestle good anyway.
Right.
If you have a body like Flair, that was good enough, and or even that kid that looked like, called himself Dick Murdoch's son.
Oh, yeah, Trevor Murdoch.
Trevor Murdoch.
Look at his body. My God, but I mean, he's a great wrestler. You don't have to have that kind of body to wrestle. That's where people need to get that out of their head, and that's Vince's doings, because he obviously likes those muscle freak-looking guys, but those guys aren't the real wrestlers. And Hogan has no body like some of the muscle. Hogan's more of a wrestling body too, I'm not knocking Hogan. I'm putting that Ultimate Warrior body and all that kind of stuff that he keeps trying to get his wrestlers. They all look the same. Rod Conway, somebody else came. I said, who's that? He looks just like him, Nothing wrong with having a good body like that, but you don't need that to wrestle when you all look the same and you can't do the moves because you're so muscle bound.
Actually, I spoke to Coco Beware after Coco had a match up there with Conway, and he was less enthused about it than you were. Yeah, I think his exact quote was something along the lines of, "I can't believe they made me lose to a guy that's going to be released in 3 months anyway."
Oh, that's a shame. You know, I never heard that. Coco's a friend of mine, but yeah, that's a shame. That's a shame. Well, thank God they wouldn't ask me to put the guy on. I mean, I got DQ'd, but there's no way in hell I'd put his ass over. He could fight me for real if he wants, and I know I could take him out.
Oh, wow. Well, in the current wrestling product, who would you say is the best?
I don't think the guys, these young guys now, I mean, when I wrestled, we had to have guts to wrestle. And we got in real fights in there, too. I remember wrestling the Bulldogs, and Beefcake tagged me out, and he was crying. They beat him up so bad. And I went in there and beat them guys back up. And then they beat me up. But, I mean, we weren't afraid to take a shot or get our teeth knocked down our throat. We got crazy in there, and that's the way I still am when I get going, because that's the way I was taught by Johnny Valentine, that it's a shoot in a way.
Yeah. You
know what I'm saying? If a guy's trying to make you look bad. A lot of times you get caught up in the moment. I remember Chief Wahoo McDaniel, one of the toughest SOBs around that I wrestled. And he beat me up every night, finally got tired of it, and knocked him out. I hit him as hard as I could, and I knocked him out outside the ring.
Oof.
So it gets that real. So that's the trouble with the new guys now is I don't think they have any guts. They're all a bunch of, not other than Kurt Angle, even Shawn Michaels, although I know I could lift him in about 5 seconds in a real fight, but he's a competitor. There's a lot of guys that are competitors out there, and they really fight, and they put on a good show, but I don't think it's as good. I think they don't have that killer instinct like the guys had to do, like we had to. I mean, I used to ride 300-400 miles a night in a car before I became a star. I did it 10 years, and I was a star for 20 years after that. I don't think they have the guts, the intestinal fortitude that Captain Little Battle used to talk about. I don't think they could go the mile the way we did.
Yeah, you guys, a lot of the guests that we've had on have talked a lot about traveling 100 miles for a $20 payday.
Yeah, but I used to, man, I worse than that. I used to ride back from Regina, Saskatchewan to Calgary and drive on black ice and drive all night and sleep all day and then do Calgary TV for Stu Hart in the early 70s. So I could tell you some good stories. And I don't know what the payoff was, but it wasn't good, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you may have already answered this question, but how'd you get the nickname The Hammer?
By being stiff, by being a crowbar. That stiff, by hitting a guy really hard. Hey, you don't have to hit me. Hey, yes, I do. That's my gimmick. You don't want to wrestle with me? You don't? That's why Hogan doesn't want to wrestle me, because I'll lay him in. So that's just my style. But, I mean, if you look at the match, my favorite opponent of all time, and I've got to say it, is Tito Santana.
Yeah.
Because he has the balls to fight back. He don't care how hard I hit him, and I don't care how hard he hits me. We wanted to make the people get all their money's worth. We were trained that way, and we wanted them to believe in that match where they believed in Hogan's horrible match with John Studd or whatever else was on the card. We wanted them to believe in our match, and that's what we took pride in. And that's what Johnny Valentine took pride in.
I don't think there was anybody in the world that didn't believe that you actually hurt his leg when he wanted to get that knee surgery. Yeah,
well, that's what it was all about. I don't think they believe in nothing anymore. But you know what? I know, they still believe. What am I talking about? Because I said it in Dallas, I said it ringside, and with Billy Graham and all these people around me for that reunion.
Uh-huh.
And after the matches were very good. I got, Shawn Michaels, Kurt Angle, that was the match, and even Vince's stuff out there was good. But the people, when they started beating up Ric Flair, up at this point they were, that phony crap and stuff. But when Triple H turned against Ric Flair and was beating on him, the people actually got mad. So they're still there. They still want to see that kind of wrestling that they can believe in. And you'll never kill wrestling. So I'm just saying, bring it back. I mean, lay those shots in. Guys used to bust each other's eye open just to make so the people would know that it was for real. They used to bust each other's eye open. You know how painful that is?
I can't imagine.
Fargo, my partner back on the Fargo Brothers, he knew how to clip a guy. He'd hold a guy and hit him on top of his eyebrow and split him open so he would bleed. You know, I mean, these are how they drew money in the old days. Those kids wouldn't do that now. They're afraid about getting their mark on their beautiful little weightlifting body. Well, I'm venting a lot here, but...
hey, that's what it's for, man.
Do you want to take the next...
It's therapeutic to do an interview with us.
Yes. We've done a lot of these, so yeah. People seem to like them, though, so...
Yeah.
You want to take the next question, James?
Sure. Of course, you're a second-generation wrestler. Your father, Johnny, was a legend in every sense of the word. How much did you learn from your father?
Oh, everything. You know, and my father never really had hands-on. You know, he never actually got in the ring with me and worked out, and then later on he probably would have, but he was crippled from a plane crash. Excuse me. But watching him, and I used to study him when I went on the road, and then I went out and did my own thing, got trained, and he would just watch my matches and he would say what I was doing wrong. And so I think mainly everything that he gave me his psychology. He said, that's wrong, do it this. We stayed up hours just talking about wrestling, so all I had to do was adapt it to my style. And by the time I was in Charlotte, I pretty much found that. That was after 7 years of wrestling, but I found my niche and what I needed to do. And so many guys were not really wrestling that style back there, but I would go out. I remember when I first came into New York in 1979, nobody was even grabbing a wrestling hold. They were just doing all kinds of crazy bumps and stuff, and the Garden wasn't selling out. Madison Square Vincent Mancini was going crazy. He was only drawing a half a crowd. And they just brought me in there and gave me the figure four, and I started breaking people's legs and actually wrestling with people. Guess what? They all started selling out. So people still want to see wrestling. They want to see wrestling holds, too. Not just flying around acrobats. They want to see a fight. They want to see more fights.
Great. Speaking of that run in WWE, you were a top contender to Bob Backlund's championship. We just interviewed superstar Billy Graham, who you just mentioned a minute ago, and he pretty much ripped Bob Backlund as a guy that had no charisma. What is your response to that? Because actually Bruno contacted me not long after that saying that he was kind of offended by the things that Graham said.
Well, Bob Backlund was offended, or Bruno?
Actually, Bruno was offended, but that was unrelated. Yeah, I apologize. That was kind of unrelated to the topic, but he called him a muscle-bound guy.
Bruno did?
Yeah. Which
Bruno was muscle-bound too, though.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me, but I don't know. I guess he didn't think of himself that way.
Well, I'm friends with both of those guys,
right.
Bruno, and I'm friends with, real good friends with Billy Graham. I know what they're going to say, and Bob Backlund is a great guy. He's a great champion, and I think he deserved to wear that belt just because he was a pistol. He was a for-real NCAA champion. And at the time, Vince Sr. wanted somebody like that to protect the belt because the NWA had Jack Briscoe. They had all these other shooters that they call him. That's why Bob got that spot, because he was a legitimate tough guy. But he never really learned. He did learn. I mean, he did learn, but it was hard for him to go from kicking guys' ass to actually work a wrestling match. I had good success with him because I wrestled him for like an hour, and every time we wrestled long matches. And that's what it took to make Bob relax. He had to work a while, then he started relaxing, and then you could have a good match with him. Somebody like Billy Graham is not, that wasn't his style. He wasn't going to go in there and work with Bob for 20 minutes to try to get to where Bob could relax and have a good match.
Right.
You guys know where I'm coming from?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, and I think I had the best matches with Bob because I did the hour Broadway with him, and it was a thing where Bob had, Bob could beat me for real in NCAA wrestling. I'm not no amateur background guy at all. I just learned whatever I could on the way up, and I had guys stretch me and everything, and Bob could stretch me. But you know what? Bob, after he goes an hour with Greg Valentine, that first time we became good friends because he actually learned how to work, because he got tired too.
Yeah.
So we had to depend on each other, and that's what it's all about. But for saying Bob Backlund has, you know what? As far as the charisma thing, it's hard. You know, I hate to say anything that bad. He has no charisma. He wasn't that type. He wasn't that type of wrestler. And I'm not going to spend any more time on Bob Backlund, but I appreciate Bob. He's a good friend of mine. To say he has no charisma is a wrong thing to say. But he had his place. He certainly didn't have the charisma that Billy Graham did. I mean,
not many people did.
The guy drew lots of money. I don't think Bob. See, they had to feed Bob a lot of heels to draw money, but you know that was just part of it. That was a time, and Bob certainly didn't have the pizzazz and charisma that other champions did. I will agree with that.
When you feuded with Backlund, did they ever consider putting the world title on you?
Yeah, it was real close. They really did consider it, and my name was up there. In fact, my name was up there a lot of different times. But after they discovered Hogan, all eyes went to him, and Vince Sr. wanted Hogan as his world champion, and I knew that way back in 1982. So they flirted with me from 79 to like 81 to actually have it. But I was still proud of what I did get in there. I know they wanted Hogan to have it. Then they wanted the Warrior to have it, you know, that they knew what they wanted, you know.
Yeah.
All right. You want to take the next one, Jay?
Sure. Skipping ahead to the NWA days, you had perhaps the most famous gimmick match of all time in the dog collar match with Roddy Piper. You talked about Piper a little bit earlier on, but tell me a little bit about that match.
I got a lot of respect for Piper, too, and he's a good friend, and that battle that we had was a classic battle, and I've actually been able to watch a good copy of it. I always had a copy was on videotape, and it was all cut up, but Vince released it a year ago, I believe, and on the best wrestlers of the 80s, and I watched it a couple of times. I just couldn't believe it, and we were really keen for this match, and we really knocked the crap out of each other, for lack of a better word. We really did. And that's going back to that old psychology, though. Giving all your own blood, sweat, and tears to make the match feel as realistic as you can, to pay all those wrestling fans back for spending all their money watching our asses out there. So I never felt guilty about taking a payoff from anybody in wrestling, because I earned my, I bled to death. I did everything. I hurt myself to make them, to entertain them. And Piper really entertained. And then we went around and did that same match around several places after that, too. People don't know about that. We still had the match going on after that.
Right.
Because it drew a lot of money. And, my hat's off to him. But that was just a different era.
What do you think about Piper? Didn't he say that he lost some of his hearing in one of those matches?
Oh, definitely. He certainly did. And he, I didn't want to believe him, but he says that I really hit him hard one time, and his ear's never been the same. But Backlund punched my left side of my ear one time. Bob was real stiff, too, He set me on the top of a rope and hit me on the left ear and broke my eardrum. And for about 2 weeks, I was dizzy. I was like Dizzy Hogan,
Why wasn't the feud with Piper renewed when you both went to the WWF?
You know why we didn't do that? Piper looked at me and I looked at him, and we just didn't want to wrestle each other anymore. We were tired of that. Those were hard matches. You couldn't redo it. And he was, at first he was just supposed to be a manager, and then we just kind of stayed away, and they kept me off Piper's pit. And we were both heels up there, so that's kind of why they never renewed it,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And plus, he didn't want to wrestle me anymore. I didn't want to wrestle him.
Right. Yeah, we just talked about WrestleMania a little while ago, but I'm going to ask you again. The first WrestleMania you were a part of, and you actually took on JYD. A lot of people thought you probably should have taken on Tito on that card. But going back to that card, did you guys realize that WrestleMania was going to become something that would be a yearly Super Bowl of wrestling?
I was familiar of it, familiar what they were doing about 2 or 3 months before they did it, because George Scott was in the office. He was a friend of mine. He was the booker. He was Vince's right-hand man, so he more or less told me what they were doing, and I thought it was great. But, you know, even though you're told that, you have no idea what it would really become. And now when you look back, and they're having WrestleMania 22, that's why I can't say anything bad about WWE. I can't do it because they made me a part of that, and it's just unbelievable that it's still going, you know. It's too bad that there's not more competition, because competition makes better. You know, that the NWA is not bigger, and I think it's better. Competition makes everything better, you know. Different leagues and stuff. But WWF, there's never WWE. That's definitely the Major League of Wrestling. There's no that down.
You were, I'm sorry. You were very successful in both singles and tag team wrestling. Which do you prefer?
If I have a good partner, and if I can, like in Beefcake situation, where I ran the match, I was the ring general. I enjoy it. I like to have a guy just a little bit younger than me so I can teach him. That's hard to find now, a guy younger than me, right? That's pretty easy. That's what I would like. I love teaching. It's a good way to teach guys. You take a guy on and tag team. I've been very successful. But actually, I really enjoy single matches better, though, because I don't have to worry about my partner. I don't have to worry about 2 other guys. You know, it's one-on-one. It's harder, but once you get adapted to that, if you get spoiled and do too many tag team tag team matches, you can actually get out of shape because it's tougher to be in there by yourself. You know, I think I always will. My favorite thing will be a single wrestler.
All right. Who is your favorite tag team partner?
I guess it would be Beefcake, and then Flair is number 2.
You also had many managers over the years. One of them was a guy that's been on this show probably more than any other guest because he's just always such a fun guy to talk to, is Jimmy Hart. How did you enjoy being managed by Jimmy Hart and the Rhythm and Blues tag team?
I still enjoy being managed by Jimmy Hart. We just did a pay-per-view thing. It's supposed to be on April 29th. Oh,
that's right, 605 reunion?
Yeah, and Jimmy walked me out. So it's great being around Jimmy. He's got so much enthusiasm. He's a credit to the business. Captain Lou Albano, I feel the same way.
Absolutely.
I love Johnny Valiant. I actually loved every one of my, especially back to the Grand Wizard too, you know. I loved all my managers because none of them were selfish. Captain Lou Albano was a star in his own right. They put me with him at first. That was a thrill. I mean, I was a young kid watching Captain Lou Albano. And now I'm being managed by him, right?
Right.
It was a thrill.
How's he doing, by the way?
I was just around him last week or a week before in New York, and he looked really good.
That's good to hear.
Really good.
That's good to hear.
I haven't heard from Albano in a while. What's he been doing?
He's doing a lot of signings and stuff around the country. I'll be with him in Los Angeles and towards the end of the month in April. We'll be out there for 3 days at a classic signing thing, wrestling, and I guess there's movie stars out there too and stuff, and other pro athletes and stuff in Los Angeles. I'm not sure where it's at, but that's why I see Captain a lot. We do those things together.
I heard a lot of people say that you were less than enthused to dye your hair black and do the Rhythm and Blues gimmick. I think it was, I can't remember who said it. I think it might have been Jimmy, might have been the one who told me that.
I didn't answer your question about Rhythm and Blues. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I really had a question about the dyeing of the hair because I had heard that you really hated that.
6 months of my career,
right.
I say this time and time again, out of 35 years of wrestling, 6 months of my career, my hair was black and people always bring it up. So it was so bizarre. And it was Jesse Ventura's idea. He pitched it to Vince. Vince liked the idea, and he said, well, you've been around here a long time, you need a facelift. I said, well, not like that. And I go, well, you know, I've been there a long time. I've been here 10 years. Everybody else had either died or lost their job or got fired. I was still around. So they followed me around with a black dye for a year. I didn't give in that easy. And then finally Jimmy said, let's do it. It's Saturday night's main event. We were out in Phoenix. Well, I'm talking to you guys out there. We were in that Veterans Coliseum or what it is over there for the vets. And I did it there. I dyed it in the dressing room and went out. And then I saw myself on TV about a week later, and I go, I killed my career. And you know what? I went with it, and I said, well, I got a jacket, and I got the guitar, and I said, you know what? I went with it. I'm going to ride this thing. And we were actually starting to get over it. It was actually fun. The WrestleMania 7 or 6 or whatever it was in Toronto, WrestleMania 6. That was fun. And I got interviewed by Steve Allen, who I used to watch. He used to do the Tonight Show.
Right.
Interviewed us in the locker. We went out there and acted like we were pop stars, wrestling stars. And Diamond Dallas Page drove us out in his pink Cadillac. He drove it all the way up from Fort Myers. So that's how far we go back. Diamond DDP is a big-time star now. You don't want to talk to me about that. He drove the Cadillac with me and Jimmy Hart and Honky Tonk Man. Then the Bushwhackers ran us off. But that was a lot of fun, the rhythm and blues, especially when it went that far. But you know what happened to rhythm and blues?
What happened?
Vince McMahon hired the Road Warriors. He was always wanting them. We were there because he needed a tag team. And they were actually going to put the world belts on Honky and myself, and I think it would have done great. I know it would have done great because it was a good gimmick after it got over. Although Honky's wrestling it leaves some to be desired, I think I could have made up for it. But you know something? He hired the Road Warriors. He signed them, and he fired both of us. He put Honky, well, he didn't fire us. Put it this way, he laid us off. He brought Honky back as an announcer, and he sent me. I started going to Japan every month. I was still making the same amount of money, but I was going to Japan 2 weeks every month. And then he ended up bringing me back, you know. So but his first intention was to fire us. but he was kind, and he kept us on the payroll. Sent me to Japan. Honky Tonk with the broadcast booth. He couldn't stand it anymore. He couldn't stand being next to Vince that much, he told me. He could quote me on saying that. I don't care.
He also called Piper Daffy Duck.
I couldn't stand. Can you imagine that? Have to be with next to Vince McMahon every night or every day and do those broadcasts? I don't like him that much. I couldn't stand it. So he quit. I was mad he quit because I wanted to wrestle Honky. I wanted to get him in the ring. I wanted to do that run with the blonde hair against Honky.
Right.
And they were actually going to do that. And because they brought me back, and I dyed my hair blonde again, and then it started falling out. But that was a strange time. But
yeah, it's funny you bring up the Road Warriors being hired, because it seemed like when they came in, a lot of tag teams got pushed to the wayside. Like you guys split up, and then Demolition split up, and I think the Hart Foundation. They were trying to make the Road Warriors like they wanted the Hulk Hogan type tag team, right?
Right.
And that's what they were basically. They were the Hulk Hogan of tag teams, and he pushed them to the max. I don't think they really ever got over as good as they could have, though. But I know that Hawk had his problems back then, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't even want to. People already probably know the problem.
Yeah.
But it was a bad deal, and they could have been bigger and better, but they still did okay, you know.
Yeah.
They didn't do like they did in NWA, though. They were on the 605 shows. I mean, the Road Warriors, gee, those guys are unbelievable.
Greatest tag team of all time.
Yeah, I would say that. Mm-hmm. But Dream Team were right up there in the top 10.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Patrick, you want to take the next one?
Sure. Toward the end of your run in the WWF, they made you a face. Did you enjoy that as much as being a heel?
Absolutely not. I wasn't ready to be a face, and I should have just left. But see what happened? That was done so I could wrestle against Honky. I needed some kind of storyline.
Right.
And that was the storyline. And Honky ended up quitting and went independent, so that's when I quit too. I said, well, it's time I just quit. So Vince didn't let me go. I just said I need to leave. And then I went to WCW for a brief time. It a good relationship I have with Bill Watts down there, the booker. So I just went independent, and I was very, very successful doing the independence. It was a great time for independence, and Europe especially. Went over there, and it was great for me. So I just didn't worry about it for a while.
You did make a couple more appearances in WCW in the mid to late 90s. Right. It always seemed like they just kind of brought you out, and they never really did anything with you. You just kind of were there.
They just called me. They would call me up and say, you want to do Monday Nitro, and we're going to have you work with Randy Savage. And
right. That's a Metro.
Counted out. I mean, they used my name. I got to be on Monday Nitro. They didn't abuse me, so I did it. But I was under contract with them, by the way, and it wasn't a big contract, but it was good because I sat home and did absolutely nothing. And they called me in every once in a while to go over to Disneyland and do those tapings, and I'd go out and beat somebody up, and then they called me in for Nitro, and I'd do something there. And I think one time I worked with Lex Luger one time on Nitro.
Right.
And I did the match the way I wanted to do it, and they enjoyed that too. But it never got the push. Should have had the push. Just don't know what happened there. But I ultimately ended up quitting there and going back to doing independent. The independents have been very good to me. And I started the XWF with Jimmy Hart.
Yeah, that's right. You were part of that as well.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That held me over for about 3 years. I was getting a steady paycheck, and that thing would have went. But the owner had a heart attack, and then everybody kind of had a bad taste about they wanted to stop the XWF. They wanted to stop because it wasn't making money yet. But it takes a long time to make money.
Right.
And Vince went after Hogan when he found out. We had Hogan signed, and he went after Vince. But that's just the way. If the guy hadn't had the heart attack, that XWF.
What was his name, by the way?
Walter Frank.
Yeah.
Billionaire in Dallas. I talked to his buddy Randy White the other day on the phone. He's a Dallas Cowboy. He was at the Super Bowl. He's one of the MVPs from all the Super Bowls. Randy White.
Yeah.
He's a good friend of Walter's, and Walter set him up, put him in a phone company. He's got his Randy White barbecues all over Dallas, and he's doing really good. Walter's still doing good, and he's about 80 years old.
That's good.
Boy, but the guy, he hadn't had the heart attack. He really wanted to get the XWF going.
What was it like getting the phone call to be a part of the Hall of Fame?
That was, I was in Phoenix, by the way. I was out there.
Hey, you got a lot of roots here in Phoenix, huh?
Yeah, I was at the church out there. First Assembly, which is the greatest church in the world.
That is a very nice
Tommy
church.
Barnett's a great guy, and Larry Karichuk, who's the head of all that Athletes International, all great people. I love it out there. But I was out there, and I was out there in February, and Vince called me on my cell phone, and I go, ooh, But it was a thrill, and he asked me to come back and be part of it. I told him that good of a deal, and it was good. It felt good to go up there, and they picked my wife and I up in the limousine, took us downtown Hilton. We had a limousine 3 days we were up there. We were treated like gold, and it's a great thing that he's doing that. It's a great thing. It's good for the fans, too. They loved it,
Well, I can honestly say I was watching WrestleMania 20. I remember watching that show, and I honestly thought that was the best part of the show. Was when you all came out on stage.
Thank you very much. And I got so many people asked me about the pop that I got, and the people really, that it was a tremendous applause when they announced me in the Garden.
Right.
You got to think about how long I was there, and it was like a cheer, but it was a boo too.
Right.
But I was there from '79 to like '93, almost every month wrestling, whether it was main events or semi. But I mean, I was in and out of there all those years.
Right.
So I got a big pop from those people. New York has been good to me.
Absolutely.
Well, do you have any more questions for him, James?
No, you want to just word it to the word association?
Okay, we're going to give you a few word associations. We'll give you a name, and you can tell either a story or a one-word answer, whatever you want, whatever comes to mind.
Okay.
Okay, first name I have is Johnny Valentine.
The greatest of all time, my dad.
Ole Anderson.
face.
Okay, the Nature Boy, Ric Flair.
Woo!
Roddy Piper.
Not him again.
Tito Santana.
Greatest worker of all time. Greatest opponent of all time.
The Junkyard Dog.
A tear comes to my eye when I think about Junkyard Dog. God bless him.
Yeah.
Okay. Bret the Hitman Hart.
I love Bret like a brother.
Dino Bravo.
God bless him too. I love Dino, and it was a tragedy what happened to him.
He got shot, didn't he?
He got murdered, yeah.
Right. Yeah, I remember they showed that on the news, and I was
Real shocked.
shocked.
No. But Dino was a good man. Strong as a bull. You could put that down.
How about Terry Funk?
The classic wrestler of all time.
Harley Race.
Nothing but admiration for that man. He is a true king.
And last name I have is Vince McMahon.
Be careful.
Oh my God. Well, you got to call him the king of wrestling promoters. That's definitely what he is. Like him or not.
I have one final question, and we'll let you off the phone. It actually involves your father. Piper, in about 2001, went on a bit of a rampage, releasing a lot of materials about wanting to start some sort of a wrestling union, and he cited your father as an example of why. What was your opinion of Piper thinking of doing a union, and what do you think of the possibility of a wrestling union?
Well, Roddy was trying to do a good thing, and he looked up to my father a lot. He loved my father's psychology.
Right.
And he was just trying to do something good, and they wanted him out there at the Cauliflower Alley, and he said, well, you guys want to do something good instead of having this every year. I mean, fine, have this, but there's a lot of people out there that are starving old-time wrestlers because there wasn't a union for them. And my dad was always trying to get that started, and maybe he got a bad name for it, you know. He was just trying to create something like a SAG thing that they have for movie actors,
right?
To what it is. And I wish there could be that, but it's really up to a wrestler to kind of like take care of himself. It's too bad, but that's what he was getting at.
Yeah.
That's what Piper was trying to do. But that thing died. It started to take off, but you got to have some big money to start that thing, and you need people with big money like Walter or something. That would have been a good thing for him to do. But Vince should do it, you know. He should do that. He really should.
Greg, we can't thank you enough for your time here tonight. It's been an absolute honor for us to talk to you.
All right, guys. I appreciate it.
Like what you're hearing? Follow us on social media. We are on Facebook at facebook.com/Wrestling Epicenter, or just search Wrestling Epicenter in the search box on Facebook. On Twitter at WEpicenter. On YouTube at IWR Interactive. And of course, check us out at WrestlingEpicenter.com, your hub and home of all things professional wrestling interviews. We're the originals, and we love what we do.
Welcome back to the Weekend Warriors of Wrestling, as we're being joined by Missy Hyatt. Missy, how you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. And how about you? It's all about you.
I'm doing all right.
Damn it.
I'm doing all right. Got a little bit of a cold, but I'm almost over it now.
You know, ever since I started getting flu shots, I don't get the flu.
Do you get you usually get a cold when you get a flu shot, though, don't you?
No, I don't even get that.
See, that's the reason I don't get a flu shot, is because that's the reason I never get a flu shot, is because when I get a flu shot, I get a little cold instead.
Yeah.
And I'd rather just take my chances of ever having the flu.
Yeah, see, I think the first time that I did, I might have got a little snuffles, but yeah, ever since I've been doing that, and I probably like skip it every other year, I really have not had like bad flu.
Well, that's good news.
All right, well, we talked to Miss Francine yesterday, and she mentioned that you guys are going to be doing a show this weekend.
Yes, we're in Lenore, North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it's north of Charlotte.
Ah, so you're not quite in Flair country.
I'm sorry, what?
So you're not quite in Flair country.
Wow, we are. I mean, I think anything in the Carolinas is kind of Flair country.
Yeah.
But, you know, I know that Ricky Steamboat's son is now racing cars.
Yes, yes.
And so I was thinking about, shoot, I should call Bonnie because I would, you know, see if there's a race or something on Saturday, but I didn't get around to it. But now that I'm thinking about it, I might try to do that.
If you need her number, I can help you out with that.
Okay, yeah, I do. She gave me the card, but it's probably in my pouch.
I haven't talked to her in a couple of months, but a few years back I was going to be writing Ricky's book, and we got started, and we just never finished.
That would be a great book.
Oh, I think it would be, but I think, unfortunately, he's too nice of a guy to tell the truth about things.
Yeah, well, you know what? That might be just a nice breath of fresh air.
Yeah, it might be after...
I mean, let me tell you something. Bonnie looks great. I mean, I haven't seen her in, like, 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Or more, and she looks the same.
Yeah, I've seen recent pictures. She actually sent me a Christmas card, and it was her whole family, and she looks pretty good.
Yeah, she does. I couldn't believe the pictures of Ricky.
Oh, yeah.
I'm, like, amazed. It's
Richie?
like, wow. Everybody grows up and gets older except me. It's really weird. I'm so confused about it.
All right, well, I have to ask you this next question, and I'm sure you know what it's going to be.
I know.
You know it, don't you? All right, I haven't seen it yet, but somebody sent me a copy, and they already told me what is said. What do you have to say about that? Yeah, she said that. Yeah, she said you're on crack. What is that all about?
I'm a crackhead. Okay. You know what? I really don't know. Like 7 months ago, or more, a little bit more than that, Francine had a ladies' show, right? A week before Chris passed away, and out in Dallas.
Right.
And me and Tammy talked, and she had been mad at me because of the Dixon stuff. She was seeing Sal, the ex-business partner, that stole, like, oh, God, $750,000 from us.
Wow.
You know, yeah, because I've already had attorneys look at it and stuff, and then we don't even know, like, all the fraud that he did, because he even came out just this past year with another Dixon's DVD. Never had my signature. It's going to be, anyway.
Another one, or was this that Wrestle Erotica one?
It was after Wrestle Erotica. He came out with another one.
There was another one? Wow.
Yeah, he came out with another one.
So he's really screwing you guys.
And he did this distribution, and he was selling it through the credit card, not through, like, the internet thing, you know, from iBill. He was doing it through a credit card machine that he had at the office. We never got paid for any of that. It's a long, you know, it's just, you know, to me, he's going to get it, you know, give him, you know, he's had enough rope.
Yeah.
You know, he's going to do it. I mean, we paid for the wrestling shows. We paid for the wrestling ring. You know, in one of his first shows that he had, because I got the bank statement. And had all the wrestlers' names, you know, I saw checks where he had written them. So, but anyway, he was lying to her and saying, you know, I was the one stealing all the money, which, no idea that he took my name off the checking account, which I never even had the check in my possession. But he took my name off the account like a year and a half before that.
Right.
And, like, he knew in September when I pulled it off the net, I found out then that he wasn't renewing the corporation, because you have to do that in, like, January or February. It's like $30. If you wait too late, it's like $800. So he knew back in February he was going to, like, you know.
Screw you.
I mean, he'd been doing it the whole time, and, like, we were paying an exorbitant amount for hosting, and he told me it was Tony's company. Well, I did some investigation, because what happened was I went into rehab, yes, and I got sober, and so, you know, you get clear. And so that's when I started investigating, and I found out that, you know, him and Tony owned the internet company, and that $2,500 a month for hosting
No, that's not for what you guys were doing. No way,
yeah,
no.
That's what he was.
As a guy who runs a website, anything over 100 is highway robbery.
Yeah, and he was trying to say, oh, and that was not the bandwidth that we were paying for either.
Oh.
So it's just, yeah. I mean, it's okay because.
And I saw Vixens.
Oh, and this is great. High Spot Video.
Yeah.
They had sent they had ordered it and did like wholesale. Well, 3 times they sent a check to the company name, to the company address. All of a sudden, they sent him 2 checks. Well, they traded some of our DVDs for the ring, and then he had them. All of a sudden, he said, put the check to my name and send him to his home address. And he was stealing from us then, and the people at High Spots had no clue.
Did you still?
They had no clue, but you don't always send it to a company, and then all of a sudden, so they, whatever. But so Tammy and we talked about it, and then she realized that, and everything was fine. And then we did some tickle videos, and then I got her booked on this thing in North Carolina.
Right.
We stayed in the same room. Everything was fine. I got her on video, and we're like at Target or Walmart. She's like, oh, Missy, I love you. You're my best friend. And she bought me a T-shirt and all this other stuff. And I'm just like, I don't know what happened. I mean, I don't know.
Well,
and I got her booked for this show in North Carolina, and I got her booked next month.
She's still booked, right?
Canada. We're going to Canada, huh?
She's still booked for this weekend too, right?
Yeah, I got her booked there.
Wow.
And then my boyfriend saw on the website, and then he, heard it, and he's joking because he's a police officer, and he's like, now you and Tammy can fight over which boyfriend makes less money. So,
wow.
But he heard it. I didn't hear it.
I've not yet seen it.
And because I didn't want to hear it because it would make me cry.
Yeah.
And, I didn't want to hear it. And as for the crack comment, well, my friend that was in my wedding came over, and this is before we even did Vixen. And she came over, and she was smoking something and everything. And I tried something, which I didn't like because I have ADD, and that was it. I mean, I'm always straightforward, and I had to go to rehab because I would have died if I wouldn't have gone. I got so far and deep,
What year was this that you went to rehab?
I've been clean and sober for 2 years, 8 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's since Vixens. I think so. Anyway.
I got clean, right, and I went to, I did the rehab, and then I pulled Vixens off the net.
Huh.
And Vixens was off the net in September, a couple years ago.
Yeah. Okay.
And I pulled it because my nephew was a webmaster, so he just deleted the whole thing.
Right, and I don't think it's even up there anymore. I don't think the domain is registered.
Yeah, no, it can't be, but I think it is in Japan because we built it and had it made over in Japanese, and he has enough content to run it for a couple years over there, so. But no, I'm letting him get the money. You can do all that right now because,
Are you still, I remember we interviewed you when the Wrestle Erotica one came out, and you were pretty outraged against High Spots. Are you still against them?
I'm just,
You don't know what to think, really.
I'm more, I just think that they have very bad business practices, that they wouldn't, and then they don't want to even apologize because they're the ones that you send checks made out to a company, and then you're going to send it, to a guy, and they know. It's not like they don't know anything about the wrestling business.
Right.
But they know it was in me and Sal and Tammy.
Right. Oh, wow.
So, I mean, and I'm sure, they had to have known when they were writing it. At least I would have known something shady's going on.
I would have, too. Well, I would have, too. So how are you going to approach this weekend when you're going to be in the same locker room as Tammy?
I'm just going to, you know what? The best thing to do is just stay away because she called me and tried to say that she didn't say it. And, I'm just thinking to myself, the time the allegedly smoking crack was before we even did business. And in Charlotte, she was asking if I had any pills and stuff. You know, and I could talk a lot of stuff about her.
Right.
I have pictures.
I'm sure you do. I've heard about your pictures, actually.
Yeah. And, I mean, I'll give you one time. One time at a wrestling fix and shoot, she passed out. She threw up. She was asleep. We dug vomit out of her mouth and got her sitting up and woke her up.
Wow. And
took my finger down her throat and made her throw up and wake her up.
Wow.
And I just had, Mike had just walked in, and he's like, yeah, I was kind of watching it, so I knew she was drinking and taking sodas and stuff, and then, you know, he said, oh, she's okay, she's sleeping. Well, no, I better go check on her. You know, I had a feeling, and I went in there, and I'm glad I did.
Who's Mike, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, that Mike Thunderbolt.
Okay.
You know, he's a wrestler.
Yeah.
So.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, and it's like, I mean, this girl, like Tammy and I were very, very close, at least I thought so, because there's not a lot of females that been around the business and, you know, done the things that we've done.
Right.
And I guess that's why Francine and I get along so well. I mean, I admire Francine.
Yeah.
And I respect Francine as a worker, as a person, and everything like that. And I always had that of Tammy, too. I mean, let me tell you something. I was always so jealous of her when she hit the wrestling scene.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I remember.
And I would hear people would say bad things about her. And I was like, you know, that's just lying, because she's a pretty girl. I know how the wrestlers are. You talk that talk.
Right.
I used to stick up for her, and I didn't even know her. I just thought it was all jealousy.
Right. And anybody that saw your guys, you did a shoot interview back in 2001, and you said all these things about her, that you had such respect for her and you thought she was great.
Oh my God! Let me tell you something. The camera loves that girl.
Yeah.
I mean, you put her. I'll never forget seeing her do those things like on that old Shawn Michaels bed when she came out. I mean, she is great. I mean, she is really, or she was, the best. You know? I mean...
Right. Well, I mean...
I have to say this. I mean, I think she was a lot better than me. I think Francine had better timing than myself. You know? And that's the honest truth. And I also, I liked her. I mean, when she first called me, we had never met. Well, we had met one time, but it was like, hello. But it was like I had known her forever.
Yeah.
You know, it was like the time Sherry Martel called me. It's like I had known her. You know, we had never met, but I felt like, oh, I know this girl.
Sherry's one of a kind.
Oh, she's wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm still mad, though, because she was supposed to be when she was in WWF.
Yeah.
She was there doing the Family Feud.
Yeah.
This was back, I guess, for cell phones and stuff. And so she was coming to town, and the cleaning lady wasn't scheduled that week. So I cleaned my house. I was going to cook dinner, all this other stuff, and she no-showed me. So, but,
Didn't you guys work a match much later, though, like in 99 or so?
The only, let me tell you something. The only match I have ever done that was good was with Sherry, and she's like, and I was so nervous, and that's when I won the Canadian Heavyweight Championship belt.
Yeah, that you took all those pictures with.
Before China did. See, I won a man's belt before she did. Anyway, and it was by accident, of course. But Sherry said, just listen to me. And I just went in there, relaxed, and listened to her. And I saw it, and I was like, that wasn't that bad, considering I had no clue what I was doing.
Yeah.
So if anyone ever says that Sherry Martel can work with a broomstick and make it look good,
yeah,
she can.
Yeah, and it's good to see she's actually getting inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame this year.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It is great,
She
and
still owes me one of those sexy maid outfits too. So if you talk to her, you let her know. I'm still waiting.
I've been trying to get a hold of her for one of our other shows, so hopefully I can. If I do, I will let her know. Oh, that's the thing. That's the other thing I wanted to mention to you. A couple weeks back, we interviewed a guy that you might remember, the one who named you Gary Michael Capetta. I mean, the one who named you the First Lady of Wrestling.
First Lady. Yeah.
Yes. He says he had a message for you, actually.
Okay.
He says he's still waiting for his book.
Oh, you know what? I just. Do you have an address or something for me?
I don't have an address, but I have a phone number.
Okay.
Do you want me to give you that number?
Give me an address. Oh, yeah, let's just give it to everybody.
Yeah, I wasn't going to off the air.
I know. Yeah, I need to send him one, definitely, because I say that in my book.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think I remember the place we were in, Fort Bragg, North Carolina.
Yeah, he mentions that he met you and he wanted to get a copy of your book and he never got it.
Oh.
And he also said that before.
It's a mistake.
He also talked about your you used to like to skate around the arena.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another.
Yes, I would bring my roller blades and I would. Yeah, because you have to be there at the arena. You have to be there so early.
Right.
And then, like, even a few times, like, I like to read very obscure kind of stuff, like Goethe, Masadier, old stuff, and Milton, things like that. And I remember, like, stuff like, was it Gary Chester, and a couple people were like, saw what I was reading, and they're like, oh, wow, you read that? I'm like, what? Do you think I'm, like, illiterate or something? Like, what do you think I'm supposed to be reading? Like, you know, romance novels?
Yeah. So it was good to talk to him, and he was a riot. I didn't expect him to be, but he had all these stories, and it was a great interview.
Oh, he's got great stories, because he was around. And, you know, the thing is, if you around, like, when all those booking meetings and production meetings, just sit there and be quiet. You can learn a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I just used to kind of be in the corner and kind of watch and see, and, you know,
yeah.
A lot of things happen.
Yeah, he told the story about Sid and Arn Anderson with the scissors.
Yeah, what was it? Somebody had a squeegee. Was that the squeegee story?
I don't know. I don't know about the squeegee story, but this was that Sid...
Because everybody came in and then they had like all these squeegees everywhere. I think he was trying to fight Brian Pillman and Sid came in with a squeegee out of his car. Like, what are you going to do with a squeegee?
I don't know. Sid also once went into a hotel room and pulled out a chair. So, go figure. For a fight, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Is this the time when he went to Arn Anderson's room?
Yeah, and it banged the chair against the door, and Arn came out with a pair of scissors.
For no reason?
Yeah, yeah. That's just, Sid must have been...
I think that's the time, that was in Atlanta. And then he went downstairs, I think, to his car, and I think that's when he got the squeegee. Next time you talk to Gary, ask him about the squeegee. I remember something, because I remember, like, next time at TV, we'd come in there and there was like 100 squeegees everywhere.
Wow. Yeah, I'll have to have him on again because he was just a riot, and everybody who's heard the interview has just been blown away by how funny he was. And he wasn't even trying to be funny; he was just telling stories.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's really funny because when I'll tell people some stories, like that happen in wrestling, they're laughing and laughing. And I'm like. And they think I'm lying.
Right.
Because it's just so retarded. And I'm like, no, I'm really quite serious. So.
All right, Missy. Well, once again, we can't thank you enough for joining us. Want to plug the website real quick?
Oh, definitely. It's Missy Hyatt and FrancineTV.com, and I have some really cool stuff coming up.